All right, 25 minutes before 10 o'clock. How are you doing anyway? It is August 4th. Yesterday would have been my sister's birthday. My sister passed away in 2008. Was it 2008, Robin?
Yeah.
2008, wow. 2008. Wow, almost 9 years already. Hard to believe, right?
Yeah.
She was way too young. My sister had her share of issues in her life, and not to her fault, though. We found out later in her life, way later, that she had been raped when she was 11, and she never told anybody. It was a cousin who did it, and he had threatened to kill everybody if she said anything, and so it really affected her. It probably explained some of her choices in life. And anyway, she died from, I think, from cancer. I don't think she ever really told anybody.
No.
But I remember she was ill about the same time my dad was ill, and she was always there at the hospital. You were always there, Robin, at the hospital. So many people that I know were there at the hospital, and it's just and when he wasn't in the hospital too, and maybe that was the harder part when somebody is home. We have a sponsor who talks in the ad. It's Palm Garden Health and Rehabilitation, and they talk about respite care, and you think about how important is that. You don't think it's important, but it's not cruel at all. If you're a caregiver, to find some place that you can get a little break and get some health for yourself. This is a really touching book. I don't even know how to really introduce it, so let's just jump right into it. Jodee Prouse is on the phone. She wrote the book called The Sun Is Gone. If you're watching the streaming video, you're looking at the cover of the book right now, and this will be a podcast later on. Jodee is an embattled women's champion. How about that? She's a speaker on women's empowerment, addiction, mental illness. The Sun Is Gone is a story about what she went through because of her brother's challenges in his life. I'll let her explain what that is. And I could relate somewhat because of what my sister went through. Although I do think Jodee was more of a caregiver to her brother than I was to my sister, I'm ashamed to say. The Sun Is Gone. Good morning, Jodee. How are you?
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome.
I will have to say, I am sorry for the loss of your sister, because I know these things do stay with us forever.
Where are you calling from? Where are you?
I am in Sylvan Lake, Alberta, Canada this morning.
Alberta, Canada. I love Canada.
This is amazing.
How is Canada? Is it cold yet? No.
No, it's not cold yet. Come on, we do have about 12 weeks of warm weather.
So, somebody from Canada writing a book called The Sun Is Gone. I don't know. That might... So tell me about your brother a little bit. Let's start there.
Well, he was my closest friend. He was just sweet and kind and, passive, and everybody loved him. I don't think you'd find anyone that could say a bad word about him. But he had trouble expressing his feelings always, and he was quite shy. And that personality, I think when you start being young and things, you start drinking as a teenager, right? It makes it a little bit more fun and makes you a little bit outgoing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so, but he took it too far, like a lot of people do.
Yeah, and I think when you say that, they don't know they take it too far. I mean, no one ever knows that there's a one that will develop an addiction.
Well,
and of course...
And I guess society makes it sort of the thing to do. I mean, movies and TV shows and, I don't know, and advertisements, they all make it seem glamorous and sexy, and, it's part of it as well.
Well, of course. I mean, we're told not to do drugs, and children are told in school from an early age we talk about drugs and not to do them. But the worrisome part is we're not ever told anything about alcohol because it is legal. It's on every street corner. It's in every restaurant, and all your family's doing it. And so, yes, it very much becomes an okay thing.
So how did it affect you? How did your brother's behavior affect your life?
You know, we've been around alcoholism our whole life. It's on so many branches of our family tree. Just because of our background, because we came from an alcoholic home, from a very early age, from when I was 6, I felt responsible for my little brother. And so when he started getting into trouble in his 20s, just on a subconscious level, I just felt that I was responsible for him. And this addiction just it was just worse than anything I could have ever imagined, and it took over my whole life.
Do you think when we enter mental illness into the conversation, and hope I'm not doing that too prematurely, but do you think alcoholism causes mental illness or the other way around?
Well, what I believe now is, and I love that you asked that question, I believe that mental illness causes addiction. When this was happening with my brother, it started in the year 2000. We have progressed now in this 17 years, that some wonderful doctors and some people coming out, we know now that some childhood trauma and or sexual abuse can cause mental illness. That was kind of the piece of the puzzle that was missing when my brother was going through this journey. And he never got help, and I think his mental illness issues were much deeper than what any of us knew. And now there's concurrent disorders where they concentrate on the mental illness and the drinking, whereas with my brother, they were only concentrating on the drinking. And I think that's where other things went wrong as well, but I think that is one of the key components.
But you and your family had gotten together, you and your mom and your cousin, you all had gotten together to try to help him, and even you guys were at odds with each other as to how he should be helped.
I think that's the disconnect with so many families. You know, even we did all get help, but we thought we were doing the right thing. And now when you stand back at the end, it's like none of us knew what we were doing. And we were at odds. I mean, our relationships, many of them didn't survive this journey, our close family relationships, and we're estranged to this day.
Really?
I think you're so focused on who you think is the sick person that I think you don't get help for yourself. And it's one of the things that I always say I would do first if I could go back. That there were some unhealthy patterns going on in our family that were not anything to do with my brother. And I think we all needed help with that. And you need help. Sorry, Robin, go ahead.
And in your book, it seemed like you were the rock. You were the person that, like, your mom would turn to help with your sister, and that had to take an immense toll on yourself.
You know, at the time I didn't know, but I do, you know, like I said, we come from, you know, my father is an alcoholic. We came from that background. I love my mother dearly. She did the best she could, but was a little bit emotionally disconnected. And I was always made, you know, no one came right out and said, Jodee, you're responsible for all of us. But I certainly had that load put on my shoulders from when I was about 6 years old. And I didn't know I was doing it. And through this journey, you know, I remember being 39 in therapy for myself. Thank God I got therapy. When the therapist finally said, Jodee, you're not responsible for them. Everything was unraveling, and you know, I was sacrificing my children and my husband, and I was trying to save my brother, and it wasn't working. I felt like a complete failure, and I was at probably the lowest point of my life.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. You know, Robin had a house guest for a year, and I I'm sure she's not listening, I suppose, but
Yeah.
but she was really really hard to get through to, and Robin and her husband tried to fix this woman by talking, basically.
And you tried too.
I tried.
By talking. You sat with her and talked.
I tried to. But you're right. Eventually you get to the point where you say, you know what? I got my own life. I got my own problems. And, so she moved out after a year. And
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh. I worked for the juvenile system with juvenile criminals for 7 years. And I also, in that particular case, it's not exactly as close as what you're talking about, but it felt like it was so hard. You go into that kind of a job saying, I'm going to help, I'm going to make a difference. But after 7 years, I felt like I hadn't at all. And I actually left thinking I was a complete failure at that. The silver lining is that a couple of years later, one of the kids who had straightened up happened to bump into me while we were driving. He saw me. And he thanked me for helping him. I thought, well, at least I helped somebody. It didn't seem like I had helped anybody, and I really tried. So that sounds like the same sort of thing that you were going through. And are you still going through it now?
I am in such a much healthier place, but I will say I'm not perfect still. And when I feel like I need help, I go back to therapy and we talk through it. And, I will say my brother did lose his battle. And so, we've had the demise of a lot of our family relationships. I've had to deal with grief and loss, but I continue getting my self-help when I need it. I think that's the big thing is, especially women, we do feel responsible for others and their lives, and never be ashamed to say, I need help.
Did you have was there a man in your life who said, let it go, that's somebody else's problem? Because I know what you're saying about women and men, the difference right there, and I think as a man sometimes I do that before the women I know will do that, and I don't know if that's good or bad. I'm just saying I think it's the way it is.
And I don't know if it's good or, nothing's good or bad, because we all live such different lives and we're different personalities. And, if my marriage wasn't so rock solid, I don't think it would have made it through the stress of this journey. But my husband, he knew the bond from childhood with my brother, and so he allowed me to do my thing where my brother was concerned, and looking back, it wasn't right at the time. My husband and I together should have set healthy boundaries long before, because I was allowing my children to witness horrific things.
Well, that's part of it too.
That doesn't mean
it
doesn't mean I wouldn't have been still supportive of my brother. But I would have had my brother, if all of us backed off a little on a healthy way, and he, I hope, would have been able to finally do it for himself. I think he was surrounded by enablers that just allowed him to continue in this world.
Jodee, what was your...
And the disease progressed.
What was your aha moment when you saw the light and you said, oh my gosh, I got to break free of this?
It was in that therapist's office when I was 39, when it took, when he told me I wasn't responsible, it took me a couple months to then finally draw that line with my brother. But what really motivated me was I did believe with my whole heart that my brother was going to die. I didn't see him making any changes he needed to make. And I didn't see my family making any of the changes they needed to make. And I just thought, if the worst happened, I will only be able to live with myself if it told him recovery and sobriety was his only option. And so that's when I drew that line.
How old are your children now, and do you think they're pretty well stable and grounded?
My children now are 24 and 26. One of my sons, and I talk about his early mental illness and his anxiety and depression when he was only in grade 1, because it is hereditary in my family. Mm-hmm. And that youngest son barely drinks. My oldest son just drinks respectively. what I hope, they are very hardworking, good, grounded young men. But I never, I always watch, and I'm always aware, because it does skip from generation to generation. But I hope I've always talked openly and honestly, and I've given them the tools to know what alcohol can do. But what I mostly know now is the path my sons choose is on my sons. That's not my responsibility. It was my responsibility to give them the tools to make proper decisions, and I hope they do that.
Yeah.
And that's the hardest thing to do as a parent, to let go and still love them.
The book is.
It is.
The book is called "The Sun Is Gone." I understand why the title, but I do think the sun has risen for you as well. The subtitle is "A Sister Lost in Secrets, Shame, and Addiction, and How I Broke Free." Why shame? Why were you ashamed?
I think for me personally, I was never ashamed of my brother, but where shame fits in is not only my family, millions of families out there, we're not talking about this. It's supposed to be a disease. The law says it is, and science proves it. Then why are we hiding? 1 in 10 people addicted go for help for fear of being stigmatized and judged. And families are hiding behind closed doors. We need to start speaking out. And this is not shameful. This is an illness. Mental illness and addiction are illnesses.
Yeah, we hear that more and more lately, and that's a good thing. Jodee, what is your hope for the book? What do you hope the reader... how do you hope the reader is affected, maybe, is how I should ask this. What are your expectations for the reader? Do you want that person to put the book down after reading it and say, you know what, I need to go get help? Or what?
I wrote it different than any other book out there. I wanted to give you the whole story instead of a partial glimpse. So it starts when we're 5 years old until I'm in my 40s. So you really do see how this can happen to anybody. And you see some of the signs that get missed and some of the mistakes that are made. But I want it to be for all the characters in the families, that everybody sees how it affects all of us, and have some empathy and compassion for all those different people. So I think you can get something out of it depending on who you are. You might be the spouse, or you might be the sibling, you might be the parent, or you might be the person that's addicted.
Let me take a phone call, and then we'll take a little break. And let's see. Good morning. You're on the air with Jodee Prouse. Thank you for calling in.
Good morning, Jodee. I just want to say thank you, and I think your book is really going to help a lot of people, no matter what position they are in the family, or someone trying to, I'm going to say help, but that whole family dynamic and what can go on. And I really thank you and give yourself a lot of credit. And I think, again, that this book is really going to help a lot of people, and I look forward to getting it. Thank you.
All right, thank you for the call. Well, that's what we hope. But we always hope that the radio show helps an author with a really good product get the word out about that book, and ultimately accomplishes the goal that you set out to, which is to help people. Let's squeeze in a little break. We'll be right back with Jodee Prouse. This is WOCA.
The weather is brought to you by myfwc.com. Safe boating is no accident. On this Friday, intervals of clouds and sunshine with a high of 89 to 93. It'll be mostly cloudy early Friday night, then partly cloudy late, though 74 to 78. On Saturday, sunshine mixing with clouds. Watch out for an afternoon thunderstorm, high 89 to 93. On Sunday, times of sun and clouds, the high again, 89 to 93. From the Florida Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Joe Lundberg.
What do I do now? After 911, don't worry, call Fakuri. Fakuri Medical and Chiropractic, treating auto injuries for over 32 years. Same-day appointments, immediate medical attention, all under one roof. Don't worry, call Fakuri. Go to bestinjurycare.com. All auto insurances are accepted. Available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week to take your call. Car accident? Don't worry. Call Fakuri. BestInjuryCare.com.
Hospice of Marion County has an urgent need for volunteers to share a conversation with someone, run errands, hold someone's hand. All you need is a willingness to help others. Our volunteers believe the blessings they receive far exceed the services they offer. Will you consider serving, caring, and making a difference? Call today, 873-7441. Hospice of Marion County, making more moments of life possible.
All right, 5 minutes before 10 o'clock, we've been speaking to Jodee Prouse. She's on the phone. The book that she has written is called The Sun Is Gone. And if you've been listening, then you already know that this is a very personal book for Jodee. And I think by sharing her personal story, we all will have the aha moment, I guess. I hate to use that one too much, but just so that we know, sometimes there are things out of our control, and you just got to live your own life. I have a copy of the book, so if you call me, I will make sure you get it. I'll leave it on Patsy's desk for you, or in the closet, wherever we put these things. And the rest of us have to go buy it. Jodee, you've got great reviews on Amazon. I'm looking at it right now.
I know. I am so honored. And as I move through my grief, it fills my heart. We didn't get the happy ending we were looking for, but I just really believe this story can have someone else get their happy ending.
When you give your talk to women, do they have one common question that they always seem to ask?
I think when I start talking to other people, what we really find is we've all been through so much, and it may not be addiction, it may be divorce, or just all sorts of things that life throws at you, and that we all just have something in common. But what happens is the minute, even if someone says, "What do you do?" and I say I'm an author and I wrote an addiction book, the minute I say that, people feel safe to start telling their story. That's why conversation and not being ashamed is so important. People want to talk. You do feel so alone on this journey of life.
The worst thing that could happen is to find out that somebody you love has committed suicide, and you had to go through that. Your brother killed himself the same year that my sister died. So I just looked at the day. I didn't realize that. Let's go to the phone. Good morning. I don't know if you have a question, or did you want the book, or both?
I really need the book for a friend of mine.
Okay, you've got it. What's your name?
Gene Metzger.
Okay, Gene, do you know where we are?
I sure do, and you guys are great. Please don't ever stop doing what you're doing.
Thank you, Gene. The book will be waiting for you.
Thank you very much. It's going to help a lot of people. We're going to pass it around.
All right, you got it. Thank you, Gene. Yeah, I think so too. I think you've touched a lot of people, Jodee, and I thank you for being able to come on the air on our station and the whole radio tour you're doing, all the way from Canada.
Yeah, it's wonderful.
Say Alberta. Alberta, is that what you said?
Alberta.
Yeah.
Is it painful to do the interviews?
It isn't. I get so much pride out of it that. Sometimes when I still go in my sad place, it's more when I'm in my private time, or when I, see things that remind me of my brother. But I just, when I'm talking, or I'm speaking, or I'm handing out the book, or hearing people's comments, it just has helped me so much with my loss.
You told us a little bit about your brother, and I hate to throw this at you with less than a minute to go, but what was his talent? What could he have done?
I think that's the part that anyone that has lost someone they loved at an early age is what could have been. He was so happy. He had a girlfriend, everything that everyone wants out of life, and what he wanted out of life, he could have had. But unfortunately, he didn't get well. And, some people don't get well. And, for all those others out there who has lost a loved one, don't feel guilty, and don't dwell on, I wish I could have done things different. we're all just human, and we do the best that we can.
Jodee Prouse, thank you so much for being on the air with us today. We will take a break. We'll be right back.
Thanks.
Broadcasting from the Paddock Mall Studios, this is WOCA, Ocala, Gainesville, The Villages, 1370 AM, 96.3 FM, The Source.
Fox News Radio, I'm Lillian Wu. The president touting the July jobs numbers out this morning, tweeting excellent numbers, and I've only just begun. The number of openings created were better than expectations.
The United States economy added 209,000 jobs. The unemployment rate fell to 4.3% in July. Average hourly wages up 9 cents year over year, up 2.5%.
Adam Shapiro with the Fox Business Network. The president gets a briefing on the summer's hurricane season from FEMA officials. Meanwhile, a growing storm over the Russia probe.
Special counsel has impaneled a grand jury, and the New York Times reports the panel has issued subpoenas in recent weeks. Some of them reportedly may be seeking information about the June 2016 meeting between campaign officials and Donald Trump Jr. and a Russian lawyer.
Fox Radio's Rachel Sutherland, the president dismissing the Russia story as a fabrication. Fox News, we report, you decide.